Well, if you own a late model Hyundai, however it's pronounced, Kia. I've got one. I still don't know how to say it. Hyundai is what I say. Anyway, Kia and Hyundai model are different variants in cars. So whether it's the iX35 or the Sportage or whatever, it might be of interest to you, this next story, because there have been reports with these cars bursting into flames as a result of a problem with the ABS system. And I think it's happened in Australia, but it certainly has happened overseas. I think there are an example or two here as well. There's a class action that has been launched by Morris Blackburn lawyers, and consumer advocate group Handle My Complaint are behind that as well. From Handle My Complaint, Jo Ucukalo is on the line. Hello, Jo.
Hello, Matthew. Good morning.
Now, this has been going on, bubbling along for some time. I think similar action launched in the US last year.
That's right. So this is a global issue, which now is really coming to the head in Australia as well. And it's interesting that even you've got a Hyundai as well. Is yours affected by this recall?
No, mine's older. Yeah.
Okay,
held
right.
together with sticky tape. Yeah.
And you mentioned a really good point around has there been a fire in Australia. And what we do know is our lead plaintiff for this class action is a woman called Anne-Marie. Now, she had her house fire in March 2021. And at the time, Hyundai removed the ABS control board. So a Hyundai inspector removed that part, and that part only, as part of her fire. And her car was not on at the time. It had sat in the garage for 20 minutes. The keys were away from the ignition. It was a car with only 75,000 on the clock, always garaged and always serviced by Hyundai. After her fire, they removed the ABS control board, and she never heard a word from Hyundai. She asked to see the report, and she's never had any acknowledgement, any response, or access to say what definitively caused her car to catch on fire, which also caused her house to catch on fire.
True.
So we think she's a very strong lead plaintiff for this class action to show just how serious these things can be. But even if you haven't suffered any damage or even know that there's a problem with your ABS, you will still be included as part of this class action because, firstly, it's a really serious issue, but secondly, some of the impacts that people might not think about with this recall. So it's really important to go and check if your car is affected, and then the advice from Hyundai is to keep your car outside, so in an open air, away from anything flammable. Now, what that might mean is you might be up for parking costs, and you should definitely tell your insurer that now instead of your car being garaged, it's stored on the street, which might impact on your premiums. So that's where the class action is looking to recover any of those additional costs that people may be incurring just by owning the vehicle.
That's pretty serious, though. If a car maker tells you not to garage your car and not to keep it near anything flammable, that's right. Concerning, to say the least.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then we've got concerns around this recall process, like entirely as well, which is why we're really, I guess, pushing this recall above a lot others. Like if you go on the government recall website, which people should do, there's over 3,000 recalls for cars alone. So there's a lot of them. But why this one is of particular importance is, as we said, Anne-Marie's car was an iX35 and she had her fire in March 2021. Now, we have seen Jessica, who's been in the news lately. She's got the same model car. The recall came out for these cars in December 2022, so almost 2 years later, and she's had the fire. So we are wondering why it's taken Hyundai almost 2 years to take this recall action when they have Anne-Marie's ABS control board to investigate.
How far back are the cars affected by this, both Kia and Hyundai cars? How long are we talking about?
So your car could be as old as a 2014 for this class action.
Really?
But I just had a call from a woman who has a 2006 Elantra, and that car also has the same ABS recall on it. And interestingly enough, she went in person to a Hyundai dealership and asked about this recall 3 to 4 weeks ago, and they still haven't responded back to her to say when she can have this part replaced. So, the class action is important to highlight not only, the impacts of a recall, but also the fact that the manufacturers need to be quick to respond here. We can't just leave them go for years. And without any sort of, all the effort and the burden is being borne by the customer right now.
Yeah. So particularly for the lady who's had her ABS system or board removed, that means her car is also, apart from the risk of fire, potentially unsafe without that braking system in it.
Well, the situation with hers was it caught on fire and her house caught on fire and she had to go and, firefight herself.
Yeah.
And why Anne-Marie's situation is why she's such a strong lead plaintiff is because she was able to fight the fire and her car was more preserved than some of the other fires we've seen where we're not sure what the cause was. Like in Jessica's on her Christmas Day one, firstly, it's too soon to be able to see an investigation, but there was no firefighting available to her. She was driving the vehicle. So the chances of being able to identify what caused the fire are a lot less than say Emma, where they removed the ABS control board.
Yes,
so,
that's interesting. But you know what? New cars, relatively new even, should not just burst into flames.
Yes, I agree. I couldn't agree more.
So, all right, if people have got a 2014 and older or newer, whatever, car, how do they get in touch? How do they get involved in this if it's a Hyundai or Kia?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, definitely, look, if you've got a Hyundai, like I said, there's some other cars that aren't included in this class action that also are under recall. So get on and check the government website because if you aren't the first owner of that car, you might not be notified. You probably won't be notified. So it's up to the owner. So if you contact us at Handle My Complaint, either lodge a complaint or sign up to our newsletter, we will update you with what you need to know about this recall. And Morris Blackburn has got a class action underway, so you can also go onto their website and register for the class action. If this is the first time you're hearing about it and you need to keep your car outside the garage and incur extra costs, like I said, it might be extra insurance premiums, parking costs, extra cleaning because now you've got more leaves to tend to on your car. Keep a record. Keep a record because it'll take a little while for this class action to progress. But we do want to know what it's costing you. So definitely go on to Handle My Complaint if you've got a complaint about any car, not just Hyundai, not about this issue, because we are keeping track and we are pushing for better outcomes for people because we see them, at a higher level and more numbers. So, we've got engine failures as well with Hyundai. Again, that's something we'll be looking at for this year as well.
Has the car maker, and they're both owned by the same company, essentially, Hyundai and Kia, have they responded to this class action?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
So, we have had a lot of trouble engaging with Hyundai, more so than any other manufacturer. We believe that they're making it more obstructive for owners to get outcomes, and we have raised this with the government. We have sent 1,000 pages of customer complaints to the government. So we just want to let motorists and owners know, it is really important to know about the defects with your vehicle. We are interested to know, we're looking at headlights. There's a problem with headlights where we've got 50 owners with headlights, all with a similar problem. So it really is important for us to know this information so that we can push for better outcomes with the manufacturers, but also raise this issue with the government department.
Indeed.
So we've raised it on two fronts, one about the safety concerns and one about the consumer laws. Is Hyundai doing the right thing by the consumer laws?
Yeah. Good questions, and hopefully you get answers at some stage. Jo, thank you for your time.
Pleasure, Matthew. Thank you.
Jo Ucukalo from Handle My Complaint over a class action against Hyundai and Kia, where potentially the anti-lock braking system, ABS, that is in most new cars and cars since, around 2000, ABS systems have been included, if not earlier. And it appears to be the main issue for causing fires in some makes of both Kia and Hyundai cars. And they're made by the same company, just under different names.